Very close now to finding out the final two players of a 96-player tournament with only just a few remaining. We're in the semi-finals, and joining me on the desk is Nathanius, Todd, and Caloris. How you doing, boys? Excited?
Very excited,
yeah,
man. A PvT, a French player, friends like Netherlands. Well, what else do you want? Like,
it's great, and you've just got Bly, who's beaten Hydra in the second semi.
Tournament just flipped on its head.
That was totally hype. Totally.
He was so pumped as well. Like,
yeah, he was.
Even before doing it, like before we were on there, after he was like, yeah, like this is it. And so
He's
makes
made
me
it.
really happy to see a player like this.
And
dream.
Grabbing the final and grabbing the championship is a realistic thing for every one of these four players remaining now. I mean, we can take a look at the bracket and you can see the road to the finals that each one of these players has now taken. With only four remaining, a Protoss, a Terran, and two Zergs. The game is balanced, am I right, Nathanius?
Yes.
I think it's great that all the Zergs just have to kill themselves off
You didn't sound
on the
serious
other
at all.
side, and then they get to the final.
A
That's
battle
how
of
it
the
is.
Zergs on the right, and then, of course, Drogo for France. France seems to be always near the top of these tournaments, and once again, they're represented, this time going up against a Dutch player, and it's not the one you'd usually expect to see. It is uThermal, who seems to be on a killing streak of Protoss plays. He took out his brethren Harstem and then went through Showtime, and he said in the interview afterwards that it just makes sense to be able to beat the third one in a row because he's beaten the other two.
I think the funny thing is that you say he's not the player from the Netherlands we expect to see at this point, but I think we expect to see him a whole lot more throughout 2016 at those heights, because he just looks great at the moment.
Looking at you guys, I know who you three are cheering for. Well, you're clearly cheering for the Zerg. You're the Terran guy, and it looks like you're cheering for the Protoss today.
I'll do what I can.
Yeah, perfect balance.
Perfect balance. Look at this.
David Kim doing a mid job.
Even got the casters shirts right. Nate, what are you thinking about this then, the first semi we've got lined up?
So at first I was like, all right, everyone knows uThermal does some weird aggressive stuff. Surely Harstem's going to be okay against it.
It's black
Wipes
random.
the floor with him. Then
Black is undecided,
It's all colours.
not
It's
in
all
this.
colours. Honestly, it's not
and then
colours.
in the series earlier today, I'm like, surely Showtime has watched those games and he's just going to completely bat this away. And he Shrek'd him.
I like how you're also even in order too. Sorry.
You're so proud that you came up with this.
I
You
know.
were like, you are thinking about this for some time.
You
right?
can't-
I just did it on the spot.
You
Sorry,
can't
Nate.
keep going because Nathanius is going to be on live tilt if you say he represents Zerg.
I gotta stop doubting him now, I guess, because this is the only chance that we're gonna have a TVZ in this tournament.
Yeah.
We actually haven't broadcast one.
I know,
so
I can't believe it,
uThermal
actually.
actually has
Oh,
to
we
win
haven't.
because we need a TVZ. That's all.
That's all you're thinking about?
No, I'm not, like, that's not like a thought or an opinion. Like, that's what's gonna happen.
Okay, sorry.
We're gonna have a TVZ
law.
final
But
because
Showtime-
we haven't had any other one.
Showtime has the compendium of uThermal to look through from this tournament and pick him apart, right? No?
You know what?
The compendium, yeah. That's
You know
it,
what?
James,
I don't
thanks.
think it matters anymore. I don't.
Todd's France consistently been able to perform well. They've got another player towards the end. I mean, we've had Firecake at the last DreamHack. You've had your Lil Bo success stories. You've had your Marine Lord recently, and now it's this guy's turn.
Well, thanks for mentioning. No, I'm just kidding. You
I mean,
don't
I'm
have to
sorry.
mention me. No.
We're talking about StarCraft 2, not Warcraft, man.
Yeah, PtitDrogo, honestly, like this guy, he's one of the hardest workers that we have in the European scene. I know you can say that about a lot of people, but even Snoot gave him props, and Snoot is also one of the hardest workers that we have here. So this really goes to prove how hard this guy tries. He's got a great mindset. If you watch his stream, and he streams occasionally, he's just this super positive guy. Even when he's losing, he's like, oh yeah, you know what? Like, I messed up here, should have done that and that.
Yeah.
Never really complains about anything, always gives his best, and here, it really goes to show how much, that affects his performance from tournament to tournament, because we've talked also about how consistent he's been in the last few, and he's put up good results, and I really feel like, I said this earlier actually, even before uThermal against Showtime began, I said, uThermal's going to beat Showtime, and then Drogo's going to beat uThermal. So I still believe in that.
Yeah.
I believe he's going to make the right conclusions and adjustments from what we've seen previously from uThermal versus Protoss, and Drogo's going to take it.
And obviously the France scene continues to boom, and I'm sure the O-Gaming guys in France right now, broadcasting in French, are having a great time. Baguettes are out, flags are waving, as they take on this man who has found himself as self-proclaimed just a streamer, has found himself in the top 4, Nate, and the last remaining Terran for a good couple of rounds now.
Yeah, honestly, I guess with this sort of style, for what everyone comes into this tournament, Marine Lord's not going to play this style. no one else here is gonna play a style. Even like people who play different aggressively, like the Muslim, like they're not gonna play these sorts of styles. And even though he didn't end up here, but the point is like he just does. I don't want to say what he does is great because I feel like this is something that the players should have been able to prepare against. But nobody seems to have any practice against this because they all just completely fall apart.
I do feel, though, there's a very good chance that Drogo has been talking to, maybe Marine Lord, and he's been asking around, what do you think is the best against this style? What should I be doing? He's brainstormed what to do, and I really feel like at some point, I mean, somebody's bound to figure out how to play against this. Like, surely this is like not necessarily the new meta that nobody's going to be able to beat and that the Koreans are going to watch and start copying as well, right?
Yeah. Thing is, though, is that when I asked uThermal on the couch, like, what do you think is the best against it? He was like, yeah, Stargate plays the best. You get your Phoenix out and stuff like that. But you were mentioning that it leaves it a little bit susceptible to kind of the ground-based attacks and stuff like that.
I was talking a little bit about it with Showtime after his series against uThermal, and he was telling me, like, he thinks that personally, like the Stargate in the last game, and we agree on that, did very well in the first place, but it was his moves later that were the problem. So it goes to prove that uThermal, even though he relies a lot on his original build, even if it's held, he knows how to play down the line. And even Roddy mentioned that, and he just plays differently throughout the entire game. He doesn't go into standard, he goes into tanks, which are very hard to deal with.
And I still really think it's important to mention that, because I thought that the Stargate play would be the best way to deal with this. Kevin said something similar early on. And really, he's just been forcing micro errors out of his opponents. Like in the game on Ruins of Ceres against Hearthstone yesterday, he had 4 Adepts versus like 6 Marines and an Oracle and against a Cyclone. Like, should have been able to win, backed off, got nervous, whatever it was, didn't go for the fight. Then the next wave shows up, all of a sudden uThermal kills the third and everything goes out of control. Same thing happened earlier today against Showtime when he has the 4 or so Adepts against like 10 or so Marines that could actually win the fight if he moves in with everything. But he has the Adepts focus on the Cyclone instead of killing the Marines. The Adepts don't do any damage, and like he basically just puts them in this spot where you're like panically making decisions like, oh my god, kill the Cyclone, and you're ignoring all of the other things that he's doing that are making you lose the game.
The thing about uThermal too is that it's not just one build. It's one main build that he likes to use, but there's different variants of it, and he can even throw in some couple one base. Like we saw a Ghost Rush. Like, for God's sake.
He's done a different opener almost every game except for the I think maybe 2 or 3 times we've seen him go for the reactor opening after his barracks, just so that he can get that heavy Marine
the
count
one base play,
for the
by the way.
Cyclone push.
The one base play is not just hard to scout, it's just incredibly hard to counter just because he comes so fast with Liberator and Tank. So if he were to do this as well and Drogo somehow doesn't see it early, he's going to be in trouble. So Drogo is going to have to be on point with the scouting here for sure.
Well, let's put the verdicts in then to see which way you guys think it's going to go. Maybe you guys agree or disagree at home. You can make sure to bring in the hashtag WCS or DHOpen or even both. And you can join in and we'll read some and see what you guys think as well. But it's time for these guys to see what they think. Kalaris, which way is this going? Are we going to have a France finalist yet again in our StarCraft 2 tournament? Or for the first time in a very long time, we're going to have a Dutch one?
So this is probably one of the harder predictions that I have to make, but I think that Showtime isn't a stubborn player, and watching him through the Meister Shaft and things like that, I think he can adapt, considering how much he's been able to see from this tournament. So I think Showtime, but I think it's close. I think 3-2.
You mean Drogo?
Showtime. What?
Drogo, right?
Oh, sorry. What am I on about? Am I?
Okay, so you're going to go with your green shirt with Drogo.
Protoss, Drogo, yes.
Okay.
I think Showtime.
Todd?
I think Showtime actually.
Showtime is so hot right now.
He's so good at adapting that I'm going to go for Drogo. I mentioned it many times. Like,
do you have a coin for me to flip?
Yeah, sure.
I feel like a fool of making a prediction.
To be honest, your predictions have been this good that you might as well flip
No. Actually, at this tournament...
Which side are you going for?
Solicited the 20 cent is
the
heads.
20 cent is...
It'll be Terran.
Okay,
right?
Terran. 20 cent is Terran.
I don't know. So...
table or hands? It's not, so it's Protoss.
So Drogo's going to win?
I'm confident you're with Terran.
You realize... Like, no, I'm fortunate no one brought this up. I've gotten every single prediction I made this tournament wrong.
Look,
so
I got this one so wrong. I didn't even pick a player that was in the game. So...
Well, he's gone for Protoss. There you've had it from our 3 experts on who they think is going to win this one. It's time to go to the commentary team to bring you the first semi-finals of the DreamHack Zowie Open.
Kappa.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, guys. I don't know what happened just then, but regardless, whatever. My brain is melting into oblivion. We have uThermal going up against PtitDrogo, of course.
Happens to the best of us. James.
Yeah, as I said, rusty.
Not that.
And in the end, I mean, as much as, you know, PtitDrogo is here, I'm kind of wondering as to when, like, Razer starts selling their own branded baguettes at some point as a peripheral to use and wield at this point in StarCraft 2, because there are so many of these Frenchies. They will always advance on to the later stages, and we do have spawning up to the top right-hand corner, or down to the bottom. I mean, that's fine as well. It's going to be our red Terran representing AT. It is uThermal. For AT Gaming, of course.
A big performance here, making it into the semi-finals.
Yeah.
And could go further as well.
And up to the top right-hand corner, we have our blue Protoss representing My Insanity. It is PtitDrogo.
Has he made the right conclusions from the previous Protoss vs Terran series from uThermal? I guess we're going to find out. What is it going to be as well? Is it going to be a Stargate as opposed to something like... Personally, I really feel like a 3 Gateway Stalkers could hold the initial attack that we see from uThermal almost every single game with the Cyclone and Marines. And the thing is that behind this, uThermal almost always gets turrets back at home, because he knows that if an Oracle flies in and Cyclones across the map, he's going to lose so many SCVs. So you can definitely exploit that, I think, by playing greedy, getting a lot of probes out, getting enough Stalkers to defend the initial rush. The Liberators come in very quickly, though, behind this. So you'd have to be very careful to already be in position when they start attacking those mineral lines, whether it's in the main or in the natural. Always leave 3 Stalkers there to make sure you start shooting them as soon as they will start taking out some of these probes. And like I said, scouting is going to be very important, and Drogo knows that, so he's going to scout very early on in this game.
Making sure that he's crossing all his T's and dotting all his I's here against uThermal. He knows what to expect, but then on the flip side of that, does uThermal completely change things up now and just go down another path? Something that is not anticipated, something that isn't the Cyclone Marine push. Maybe just skips all the way to Liberators and tries to do something there and then move it on to the later stages.
Yeah, we were talking about this during Bly versus Hydra earlier for the 5th map. Imagine if Bly had just gone like super greedy in the start. Like Hydra was just expecting super aggressive all-ins. So in this case, uThermal, he has this image of Terran that will mostly do one very strong opener and always go for the attack. Imagine if this time around he just went for a very quick 3rd CC and played it standard, you know, and fairly greedy. I think Drogo definitely would be pretty surprised, and probably not in a good way, especially if he's playing defensive himself. Then there is no way he could punish uThermal for doing that. But do you have to change when your build is doing this well, as uThermal's build has been countering pretty much everything? Twilight Council goes down now, and we do not see any Stalker. It's just Adept being made now with for Drogo.
Well, I mean, overall,
trying to have some defense.
That command center finishing up towards the back, the factory on the way here, all lining up pretty nicely for the eventual Cyclone to come out. But Robo facility goes down as well
is
here.
That a DT drop?
Is that what you
usually when you get Twilight, then Robo like this, you drop down a Dark Shrine and then you go for a DT drop. You're down 2 gateways later. But it could be Blink as well, I think, or even Resonating Glaives,
Yeah, all right.
So I guess he's already thinking Adept drop with a lot of Adepts. He could be going for the build that we've seen from Seed in GSL, that bit bomber that a lot of people said, you know, was really, really hard to deal with, which is this so far. And then you add a couple more gateways. You do a big Adept drop where the Cyclone's not going to be. So usually you don't go into the natural. You fly into the main or towards the ramp, drop down the Adepts, warp in extra ones. But usually you go for 3 extra gateways at least, not just 2. That can make a big difference, whether you have 3 or 2.
Yeah, Marine's going to just move back for now. Just going to rendezvous with that Cyclone at the front here in just a bit.
He's anticipating it. Instead of going for Liberator, he's getting a Viking.
Yeah.
I think uThermal, just by scouting, just by seeing the Twilight Council chrono boosting something, the double gate, additional gateway, and the Robo is like, okay, well, I know what you're doing. I don't have to be aggressive here. You're going to be dropping me. So this time around, he says, instead of being the aggressor, I will accept that you'll be the one attacking, at least in the first place. I will try to defend. And what I've seen a lot from the past from uThermal in this position is that he stays at home in the first place, defends the initial War Prism and attack, and then goes on the offense himself after staying on 2 bases for a very long time, sometimes with tanks plus Liberators to do a 6 siege. But he actually starts a 3rd.
Oh, look at this catch as well.
He actually starts the 3rd CC as well. That's a big, big catch, and he's going to go down.
Oh my god, brilliant stuff. The Cyclone didn't even try and get away from this for a moment. Of course, once this psionic transfer does complete, and even the Photon Overcharge, good cleanup of that in the end. So trade for trade, but he alleviates himself with so much pressure there.
Absolutely, and uThermal with a perfect read. Blink is going to start behind this here. This War Prism has been so delayed now. I think Drogo is still gonna try to go for it after remaking. Templar Archives actually goes down behind this, so could just be planning to go into Archons or Storm behind this. uThermal is so good at this kind of style though. Like if you allow him here to go for a third base the way he's being allowed to right now, I think he's just gonna make a ton of units, move across the map with not just Liberators, but tanks as well, and do a massive siege, which is just so hard to break, especially if you're not used to it. Wait, what? Double Forge and a Stargate.
Double Forge, Stargate, Templar
What is going on?
Archives, this is all...
Obviously, he's gonna want to get some double upgrade going, but why the Stargates?
Maybe Phoenix to pick up siege tanks if he knows that they're going to be on the way. If he can try and loop around on them.
Maybe
it's difficult against so many Marines.
Yeah, Liberators can be very hard to deal with, so maybe some Phoenix or Void Ray to make sure he can shut this down around his bases, like if these were to come. But usually when you go Blink, that's enough.
Trying to drop in on top of these Marines and actually getting them down. The Warp Prism will die off here to that Viking, and he'll be able to clean this up eventually, but not without losing a few SCVs in turn.
Yeah, they would transfer into the main and do even more. They're going to get a lot here.
That's a lot. 8 already gone down there. Even the silent transference towards the main, and he's getting even more. This is actually a great piece of harassment considering the Warp Prism was kind of, killed off pretty fast.
Actually, it's 60 probes to 34 SCVs now. First Liberator is going to get in position to start on doing some damage. Gets in a nice position where no overcharge can actually help here against this. So Stalkers are going to have to do the job. It's actually already on half hit points, so 2 Stalkers will clean it.
Yeah, and that Liberator was kind of more delayed compared to where it has been in the past in this matchup for uThermal. So at least he'll try and do a little bit more, maybe. Gets another before it goes down. 62 probes to 38 SCVs is so massive. Like income-wise, uThermal is not in a very happy place right now. Like he's keeping up thanks to the mules, but over time, like as soon as these expire, it's going to be really bad for him. The double forge is really good though. When you're on 3 bases, you always want to be, I think, on double forge with double upgrades. Even though actually, like Showtime showed us that if you go for 1 single forge, you should be maybe going for attack upgrades. Like he did very well with that, even though he lost the series. I thought he looked really good, maybe even better than some armor upgrades. Robo Bay goes down, so maybe some disruptor in the plans here. In the first place, you want to get a couple if you can, and then maybe go into Colossus. Warp Prism speed is a possibility down the line. If you know there are going to be turrets that will prevent you from dropping, you can fly past them, drop in at depths elsewhere. The thing is if it is going to be like a heavier, having some siege tanks with a Marine push, and he's actually mixing Widow Mines as well, surely if he's going to go for disruptors, it's very hard to hit siege tanks if you're keeping eyes on them with medevacs, etc.
That's why this army is so hard to deal with here from uThermal, where when he gets enough tanks plus disruptor, it's just so hard to engage into him. Because he's already sieged with both units, and you have to run into him, and you start losing everything very quickly. And uThermal is such a macro beast as well that even though he was quite a bit behind in SCVs, now he's caught back up. He hasn't missed a single beat with his SCV production, and supply-wise, he's doing very well in terms of keeping up. It's actually Colossus production, which surprises me here. Yeah. In Legacy of the Void, definitely a lot less of a significant unit than it was in Harvard Swarm, because
I was going to say dead unit, but I mean,
the range that's been reduced, the damage as well. Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to actually pull off, it feels like, and not nearly as helpful, but can be good in some of those fights if you have the right army to cover them and let them do the damage.
For sure. Well, this Liberator will get cleaned up after getting 2 extra kills.
A very important thing to note about Colossus is that a lot of Terrans don't get Vikings because they prioritize Medivac plus Liberators. So if you don't have Vikings, and I guess there's like 3 to 4 Colossi with thermal lance, then it could become a problem for you. But like I said, siege tanks plus Liberators still do the job. They kind of replace. They are a good sub for the Vikings that usually a Terran would have. And in this case, we even have a couple of Widow Mines because they're just that good. If there were to be stuff like, a lot of adepts running in, you just burrow them, pull back. Second Robo is actually on the way here for Drogo, who should... Do you think he's going to have 2-2 before this hits?
Might, if he's able to delay it for a little bit, like force a siege in the middle and then kind of make sure he doesn't get over there too quickly.
This is the attack I always die to, by the way.
All right, okay.
He's so good at this. He's really, really good.
Well, will Colossi save him in this position? I mean, at the moment, it was a little bit of a surprise. He's only just spotted it here. So he's adding in more Liberators at the moment. Charge, as well as 2-2
he's buying some time very well. 2-2 is definitely going to complete here before this attack hits. And now there is Archons as well as the Zealots that are going to be at the front. Charge will finish as well before the next fight. uThermal is going into an additional starport, but it really looks like this army of Protoss is very scary right now. Unless Drogo takes a really bad engagement, I think he's going to be all right.
He knows that there are Widow Mines in that army too, so the Zealots can't really do
He's producing them 2 by 2 as well right now, so...
This is interesting.
Colossi are back, guys.
Apparently.
Well, actually, let's wait until the fight happens.
Let's wait until they all die. We'll see.
Could go really bad.
Yeah. We shall find out in just a bit. As I say again, Thermal Lance is done for all of this. He's keeping eyes on the army, and that's a lot of Liberators in production.
Fusion core.
Uh-oh.
Do the dance.
Is that... Well, is that for advanced ballistics overall?
Yes, absolutely. Which is going to be massive because there's going to be so many Liberators that can make a big difference. There's not going to be any particular Tempest or Phoenix or anything that can really shut down these Liberators. So this is going to be massive, actually. With the amount of uThermal he's going to have in terms of those Liberators, they are going to be really, really good. But actually, I don't think he should move out and trade right now. He should wait until he gets that. Because then his army just becomes so much more effective. I think he might engage before that. Yeah, I don't think Drogo can engage either into this.
These chokes are too small. I mean, he's going to have 8 Liberators at the front. Here goes the fleet beacon now, so Drogo is looking to buy more time.
We could have a really long game here.
Yes, we definitely could.
And as I say that...
Whoa, he's actually going in very aggressively here, realizing that the Liberators weren't set up properly on this flank. So he can try and bust on through with the 2-2 that he has for these Zealots. They're actually tanking up a lot of damage, and the Colossi and the Archons at the back, though, didn't get the damage out that they needed to against that huge Bioforce.
But whatever happened to the tanks? I thought there were a couple around.
They're dead.
He lost all of them, okay.
They were there. Thanks, Bunker. But now, I mean, they are being substituted. That's the big problem.
And where is the 2-2 for uThermal, by the way?
Don't know. Advanced Ballistics just started, I think.
Yeah, I don't, did he even get the Armory or a second eBay? No.
Huh.
Okay, so I guess uThermal is just planning on getting advanced ballistics, and then he's gonna commit everything to a big attack, staying on 1-1. But 3-3 is gonna finish by then, possibly here, which will be massive.
If it's that
I know
many
Liberators are good, but against 3-3 Protoss, maxed out, like it's gonna be pretty tough for him to win this.
Yeah.
There's not gonna be any ghost though, so it's gonna be... I almost want to stay on all-in. It's going to be a very important attack here that's going to happen down the line where uThermal's going to have to win or do a lot of damage, because if it doesn't work, he's going to be in so much trouble. Storm's going to complete. I mean, Tempest are being added on now.
Even just one Tempest alone is annoying for him to actually deal with. He doesn't have a means by which to get on top of it. A big concave set up here, though.
He attacks me for 3-3.
And actually, those Storms didn't do huge amounts there, but they're still doing quite a bit. He's trying to flank on the right-hand side here to get onto some more of the squishier units. But the Colossi are still not doing too badly, but he doesn't have enough Zealots or anti-air.
3-3 just completed, and he lost most of his army here, the DreamHack. I guess he can replace that, but still not sure it was worth it, unless he can finish the game now, do some more damage.
I need to siege up with these Liberators once again. They will lay down their liberation zones. Advanced Ballistics just about to finish up.
I guess he traded just before Advanced Ballistics finished, so it's okay for DreamHack, even though he fought before 3-3. Now he's going to be able to get quite a few more Tempest, and looks like he just wants to stay on the map and keep on pressuring there.
Yeah, looks like it. I guess keeping his opponent contained in this situation, 3-3 against 1-1. It's just,
sick.
If he had the vision, and he does with that Observer, and he has to drop the scan and kill it, because if the Tempest has free reign over these, what's he supposed to do?
I wouldn't even be surprised if you saw an Oracle plus more Tempest being made here, but I mean, uThermal, there is no prospect of 2-2 starting anytime soon here for him. He's completely committed to staying on this 1-1 bio army with a lot of Liberators, which so far hasn't worked out. So DreamHack has managed to go into a longer game here against the uThermal, who definitely lacks to make a difference usually before we reach that stage. And so far, it's looking pretty good for our French player here.
How do you see it? There must be an Observer there. There has to be an Observer for him to see that far.
Even a turret actually would go a long way here to prevent this from happening.
Yeah.
You're
totally right. I mean, how was he supposed to kill a turret under those liberation zones? One was going for some harassment over onto the right-hand side. More liberation zones on the way.
Please target.
Push them away. Please.
I think uThermal is trying to max out to then maybe attack into this army. Because like you can't plan on only sitting back here, clearly. Like he's gonna get shot down endlessly. So he's gonna have to attack into this Colossi at some point, but he's only now starting Viking production again, other than the first one he made in the start of the game. I mean, it's very, very late.
The thing is, it's not the most common. You said it before, you know, dealing with Colossi, it's not the common problem for Terrans nowadays. So he's kind of almost stumped. I mean, not having the upgrades, it's throwing him off balance a little bit in this game. He's trying to find an answer, and right now it's to go around the corner and drop.
I mean, there's been some nice trades from both here, especially, I mean, DreamHack definitely getting the better end of things here with his upgrades in particular, but neither player's economy has been hit in a long time. There was this one, the Liberator on the right-hand side, did nothing. So now uThermal tries to move out with a little bit of bio, but he's going to be caught here by a bunch of Stalkers.
Good catch. Good catch. Has already set up good defense over here as well. The mothership core is over there too. So even if he needed those photon overcharges, it would be in a split second.
Where's the Armory? Where's the second eBay?
I don't know.
uThermal just relying entirely on his double starport units here with the Liberators and Vikings. I don't know if it's going to be enough against the Protoss already on 3-3 with Tempest. Drogo actually going to attack. He's got a big bang behind it, so he might be okay with just trading here.
There were 3 Liberators up to the top not doing anything during that fight, but now they've come in with their anti-air weapons to actually kill off some of the Colossi at the back. The bio at the front here, though, is still being pushed back quite severely by PtitDrogo, and that is going to be GG. Game number 1 goes to him. And it really felt like uThermal was just sort of clueless towards the late stages of that game.
Look at this couple behind Drogo. They're loving it, man. That 3-3 upgrades against the 1-1. And Drogo, after a very well-conducted game here, even though he got his initial War Prism shut down, he didn't worry. He did what he had to. Took his extra base, went into Double Forge, made a couple of Phoenixes to make sure he was going to be able to defend comfortably against the Liberators that we know are going to be there. They're always there when you face uThermal. And finally, a Protoss says, well, this is how you play against this guy. You counter his initial build, you develop yourself, you tech, you get 3-3. He doesn't upgrade much. Really, uThermal doesn't usually upgrade that much. He likes to commit to big production and aggression. So if you're able to get that 3-3 upgrades and he's 1-1, usually like you're doing something right.
That was unexpected, to be honest with you. I didn't expect the first game to go quite like that, for sure, with the Colossus production and how well PtitDrogo was able to shut that down. And now, I mean, looking at that, as much as PtitDrogo has had so much to study against his opponent here, uThermal's kind of got to take that game away and be like, well, okay, like, how can I reiterate what I've got to do early on?
The flow of the entire series is broken here for uThermal as well. Like, he might have had like, a very concise plan on every single map, but now that this went that way, it's probably like, wow, this guy is legit. Like, he knew exactly what to do here. He countered me very, very hard. Maybe it's time to mix things up a little bit differently, or maybe he sticks to the plan, I don't know. But here we see the first big engagement here across the map from Drogo, who actually attacked before 3-3 was finished, but most of all, before advanced ballistics finished, which was massive because these Liberators would have started shooting from so far if they had that here in this fight. And he pulled back on time as well. Instead of staying and losing everything, he started pulling back. He regrouped a little bit with the Stalkers, then came back in with some good blink, making sure he was always sniping those Liberators. He almost entirely reset the Liberator count before that upgrade finished here. And Drogo just played that really, really well.
And you see how different the dynamic of Colossi is in Legacy of the Void to Heart of the Swarm. Normally when you go into an aggressive engagement there with Colossi, they get traded off against, and they could just die and die and die, but not in that game at all. But anyway, let's get into game number 2 now, as we have spawning up to the top left-hand corner. It is our red Terran representing AT Gaming. It is uThermal. Will his road end here? He's gone through Protoss after Protoss.
Got reminded that the Colossus is still in the game.
Yeah, and oh boy, did it work. Down at the bottom left-hand corner, we have our blue Protoss representing MYI. It is PtitDrogo.
Drogo, who's had to show his skill this entire tournament here across multiple matchups already. He's beat Neeb, who's a massive beast in PvP, even say like he struggles and takes some builds from him. Usually, we've seen him against Zerg, and now we see him against Terran. And he's so convincing in every single matchup. It's unreal how good this guy is.
It's somehow, some way, that French breeding program, it's gone well in their labs.
Underdogs Bow Gaming, man. That's where it all started.
The Underdogs
they
breeding
built
lab.
an army.
They did. They have certainly built an army, and oh my god, is it doing... It's working wonders. These are superhumans that have been created over in France. I think you were the blueprint, right?
I was the prototype that they made sure not to reproduce.
Oh, okay.
A failed prototype.
I don't know, man. I think you had your day, but anyway. All right, so back to the factory before Command Center here for uThermal. So maybe he just goes back to old tricks and really tries to ramp up the pressure.
Yeah, with uThermal, I mean, he loves to be the aggressor. In the previous game, it seems like the only thing he was allowed to do was kind of sit back and try and catch the War Prism, which initially he did, but it just wasn't his type of game. It just wasn't the flow that he likes, where he's the one attacking all the time. He sat back at home, waited for the aggression to come, and didn't really do much, took that third base, but not already being on the double gas. I expect some fireworks once again here out of him. No second CC yet. Factory about to finish. He's gonna go straight for the starport here. What do we see here out of uThermal? Cloak Banshee, a cheeky Cloak Banshee maybe?
I figured that he may try
Some
that in the
Hellions?
first game, actually, but he didn't in the end.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to see it. It's certainly something that you wouldn't really expect in today's meta right now.
I think by now, uThermal has probably already realized just from map number 1 that Drogo is going to be scouting very early in every game.
Yeah.
And actually, she's going to shut that down very nicely here
Nice.
with a well-placed Marine. So, double Hellion production with a quick starport and a tech lab on it. I'm feeling like Hellion into Banshee here is very likely.
The thing is that also if Drogo keeps going for the Robo early on in this game, it's actually shutting down quite a bit of what could potentially come that's a little bit more unconventional if he's able to...
Evacuate!
Run away!
Run for your life!
We did have Hellions from him a little bit before in the tournament, right?
Overcharge is going to do a lot of damage. Oh, that SimCity is so sick.
That's really nice. They have to go all the way
He's
around.
not going to get anything, I think.
No, if he just pulls the probes away, back to the natural again, I mean, what's he supposed to do?
And Liberator production actually starts, and I think that's because the Adept spotted the starport with the tech lab.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, he didn't swap that. So he's getting... Oh, that's going to be the one base play on this map. But Drogo saw it. Drogo saw there was no CC. He saw the quick starport, so he must know right now. What's the best counter, though? Especially, like, if you look at this SimCity, if somehow uThermal takes out the natural and then sieges from down there, he's gonna take out the entire production of Drogo. I always theorized that against this, maybe you should have a War Prism out on the map ready to drop Adepts as Terran leaves their base, wreck their base, buy a lot of time back at home with a lot of pylons that will take a lot of time to actually take out, and then behind this, have enough units to eventually defend. But right now, that Liberator is so fast.
Wait a minute.
There is no pylon in the middle line. He's gonna have to warp in 3 Stalkers with his gateways.
No pylon, that's going to shut down a lot of mining time. He has to go over towards the natural and just try and mine there for a while.
He needs to warp in 3 Stalkers here and move in this position to defend it, but the siege is going to come so fast behind it.
Oh my god. He only has 1 Immortal at the front. I mean, not too much at all here to deal with this. The Liberator goes back for a moment, and even the Medevac's going to be able to protect this siege tank while the Liberation Zone is still down in this mineral line, so he still can't mine just yet.
Drogo. I'm not sure if he overmade probes. I think 33 might be about the right amount that you need before you cut, but he's still making probes, so he's misreading this. I think he might be thinking that uThermal is expanding behind this, but uThermal is going to hit hard here on one single base.
It's going to be a sacrifice Liberator, but
it's
he's
got though in the meantime.
Or two. Yeah, and that's drawn the entire army out of position. Getting on towards these 2 siege tanks is going to be difficult here.
What makes this so strong is that there is a Medivac to pick up the tank and save them if you were to target them down. So now he's going to pull the probes. Drogo has to hold convincingly here if he wants to be able to win this game. And so far, he's doing good.
He got one of the siege tanks. Second one's going to be evacuated out of there. He's been able to hold on. He's lost 11 probes during all of that, but he still has double Nexus productions with what are these SCVs doing there? Go away, fellas.
I think losing the Liberator here was a massive mistake. He should have saved that, brought it with his push that could have changed everything because he does so much damage in these siege situations.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. Imagine if it's above the army and then he's trying to get on towards the siege tanks and the Liberation Zone is there where he needs to get to the siege tanks. That would be huge.
And now Mothership Core is going to defend that.
Oh my.
Oh, he might not be in range. Yeah, he's not going to shoot here with the pylon. Yeah, this is good actually for uThermal. He's going to hit it with another wave with more and more Marines for the triple barracks he's getting. This is so annoying because when it's set up like this, if you send
2 Stalkers.
Yeah, if you send 2 Stalkers, they actually lose.
Die.
Yeah, but like there is one corner maybe where they
okay.
But if you send 2 Stalkers that are being shot at, then they actually die.
Oh, free Liberator! Oh,
Drogo was fishing. He was fishing for this, I think.
Yeah, and now he's actually forced him to reposition to get to that Stalker. Another photon overcharge will clean it up. The second wave of this is coming for uThermal, but behind it, he still doesn't have a second command center.
Oh, he's trying to catch him. He's trying to catch him before uThermal can siege properly. There is 2 Immortals going to town on this tank.
Oh, GG, PtitDrogo.
Wow.
What a defense, what a play.
This is how you play Protoss against uThermal. Showtime and Hearthstone, take notes. This guy has done his research and he's figured it out for the most part.
I mean, as soon as he starts Corona boosting into that first Immortal, he knows what's coming. He knows that he's going to be facing off against this. And what a way to shut it down in the end. I mean, a few units lost here and there, but I mean, knowing to pull the probes off, a worthy sacrifice in the end. You have to do that, and you're still leveling the economy, knowing that your opponent has committed so much to it.
Oh no, uThermal, don't check Twitter in between games.
No, don't do that, no.
I don't think reading Nathanias's dank memes is going to help anybody between these games. Like,
not only in between games,
actually,
just ever.
He called Nate a casual, so he might not even follow him. But
maybe.
Oh man, this is rough for uThermal for sure. Like, it really felt like Drogo knew this was a big possibility was going to come. He scouts enough, and like I said, in StarCraft 2, if you're a top player, if you scout what your opponent's doing, you're supposed to be able to counter it, really. Now, he scouted the one base very early, and even though I thought for a moment he might be making a few probes too many, he just had barely enough units to hold. Made the Immortals to counter the tank, even though you can pick them up, then it means that they're not shooting. There was no Liberator in support for the tanks with the siege, and Drogo, after the first hold, is just almost an unrecoverable position for uThermal. Like, he went for a wave number 2, but probably was already believing that it was over, so it's really tough.
Tough stuff here now for uThermal, the remaining Terran in the tournament. Admittedly, we're being in the round of 4, having won there, he's still okay. But he's been able to hold on for sure. But now against PtitDrogo...
Yeah, that's Liberator was so massive.
Yeah.
Like, if this had been with the push, I think it can change everything. Because he takes out Stalkers, like everything so fast.
I mean, when he swings round now to the right-hand side and gets on towards the first siege tank,
and the SCVs, they did nothing. Look, they went past the fight, by the way. They could have tanked a little bit if they were on attack move or something. These SCVs were on full strike.
That gets crushed. That gets crushed.
He killed 11 probes, but I mean, Protoss now has the same walker count, and he's already onto Nexus, so he doesn't care. Oh. The biggest mistake you can do against this, is try to defend with overcharge at the front of your base and not enough units, because then, I mean, siege tanks, they don't care. They siege from afar and they snipe all the pylons and then you die because you're supply blocked. So Drogo definitely played this in a masterful way, and uThermal is backed into a corner now. No room left for mistakes.
The thing is that when we were speaking to him for the interview on the couch, he was saying this could easily be a 3-0 to PtitDrogo, considering that he does have so much room to kind of know what he's doing before. And also, he said when he meets PtitDrogo on the ladder, I almost said Showtime again, he has like kind of the 50-50 back and forth. So it's definitely a tough situation here for uThermal. He might be morally defeated right now.
I mean, especially if he's checking Twitter. Usually that's a very bad idea.
Is that how you felt when you were a pro gamer? Did you ever check Twitter? You did and then stopped. Sometimes.
It's the biggest mistake you can do, along with checking Twitch chat in the middle of your series.
Twitch chat?
Because everybody's laughing at you.
Yeah. Oh, well. All right. Well, we are going to be on Orbital Shipyard to round things out, potentially here for PtitDrogo if he takes a 3-0.
That's wishful thinking, let's come on.
I would rather more games.
We're going to ignite the comeback on Orbital
it.
Shipyard. Is what's going to happen.
See what he can do. Go back to his old kind of style. The thing is he has been mixing up and hasn't tried the Cyclone Marine into Liberator push at all here. At all yet.
And it really feels like he might have felt like he was too expected, so maybe he wanted to play a little bit differently. Even though in map number 1, I do think that uThermal wanted to go for it, but didn't do it because he scanned a triple gateway with the War Prism and a Twilight. So he was like, okay, you're going to drop adepts. Fine, I'll defend, I'll do the right thing. Those not necessarily was the right thing, I think.
Well, here we go. It's going to be Orbital Shipyard and spawning up to the top right-hand corner. He's one game away from being eliminated. It is 80 Gaming's uThermal. Has it all to play for now.
He loves his caps, man.
Loves his caps.
And always wearing one.
To the bottom left, we have our blue Protoss representing My Sanity. It is PtitDrogo, one game away from advancing on to the grand final here at DreamHack Zowie Open.
That'd be a big result here for him, for sure.
Huge.
Honestly, like with the way this has gone so far in the series, Drogo, all he has to do is continue with the steady scouting, making sure he knows what he's up against. And I think going for a similar build to what he did in the first 2 games, getting a robo, getting a bunch of gateways, he's just so solid overall. He's really good at this, especially in the first game. Remember, like it was on what we could call, I think, a little bit of a similar map. I think if he does that again, where he goes for the resonating glaives, the double additional gateway and the War Prism, it's just really good. Like you have to be very unlucky for this to go wrong, I feel like. So wouldn't be surprised if he went once more here for something like this and tried his luck just by playing solid.
Yeah, could do. He's going to send that probe out now once again to get good information on uThermal and make sure he knows what's going to be hitting him at any particular moment. We'll see that reactor going down on the barracks. And unfortunately for uThermal, no way to really stop this probe from seeing what it wants. We'll just back on out for now.
I love how Drogo just sees like the quick reactor. He's like, all right, I know what I needed to know. I'm out of here. Peace out.
Thank you, bye! Just, well, he puts himself on patrol just to maybe make sure exactly what he's going to see later on.
Hey, you want to know, I guess, exactly when everything starts, what comes out of the barracks, if you can. Saving the probe is not that important. I mean, it's already across the map. He's lost a bunch of minerals here for this. And Double Reaper, I think that's why, actually, he might be sticking out.
Exactly.
Out there. Because uThermal is one of the Terrans that's been known. Like, I mean, he's the aggressive Terran. uThermal even proxies a barracks sometimes on this map to do this.
Yeah, he does.
And it's actually an additional barracks behind this.
Uh-oh.
He wants to know.
This could get ramped up. This could get ramped up really quickly.
Seeing the Double Reaper, I mean, is so good for Proto seeing it this early, because then you can start setting up pylons where Overcharge is going to be able to keep them out of your base. You're going to be able to get enough adepts to make sure you snipe them down if they head for you. But he's actually going to head out of there. Robo goes down. Hey, this is the same build as map number 1.
Yep.
Twilight Council, Robo, and then double additional gateway at least later. Could actually be more. Especially, I mean, since he's up to 0, I wouldn't fault Drogo for going like for more gateways.
He has nothing, only 1 adept. And these Double Reapers are just going to
He's got a one-man army is what he's got.
Get ready for the KD8 charges. Let's go. Throw down the grenades everywhere.
Yeah, so in this case, actually leaving with the probe earlier than the Reapers came out was a bit of a mistake. Could have avoided the loss here, even though it's not the biggest one. Only lost a single probe. Lost a little bit of mining time on that gas. Double additional gateway here is going to go down.
Walling off areas as well, not only to further advance himself in production, but, you know, just make sure those Reapers have a harder time if they want to jump in later on.
Where that Prism at? Here it is.
Okay.
And Mothership Core starts now as well. It's going to be what he leaves back at home for the defense here. Will uThermal be ready for this? He starts a starport here, so no kind of third command center, no additional barracks just yet. Probably wants to go for his traditional Liberator here behind this.
Well, just going to back on out for now.
I wonder actually what route the War Prism will take. Left or right? And is it going to be scouted, obviously? And where it's going to drop?
Left,
because you know that almost every single time here there's going to be a Cyclone trying to prevent War Prism to fly in there and like be left to warp in units freely.
Almost gets one of those. Still uThermal.
Double Liberator on production.
Wow.
So I think that's 1 for each base here to be sent. Actually, this could help shut down the War Prism if it comes out on time.
uThermal's so on point about getting out these Liberators. He's one of the biggest proponents
he loves
of it. Yeah, very rarely do we ever see him kind of go away from that. If there isn't a pylon in the right place, you can't put an overcharge.
I really think that Drogo might be dropping in a corner where uThermal won't necessarily be ready. Oh no, he knows. He kind of felt it.
The foresight, wow.
The Force.
Strong. I shouldn't. If I do a Darth Sidious impression, somebody will shout at me, so I'll stop. But this Warp Prism is going to head on in.
That's 3 gateways, so he's got 3 adepts. He's going to be 6 in total if he warps in 3 more against quite a few Marines, but he's got Resonating Glaive, so this could do a lot of damage. He's also going to transfer them to the natural, and there is no wall in between.
Throwing the Psionic Transfer, you have to, in essence, split the Marines up, but if you do that, then they'll get conquered on one side. It's really difficult.
Evacuates, but Drogo picks up on it, so...
Oh, he's going to get so much damage done. 9 workers have already gone down here, and PtitDrogo is just on fire right now.
He's not done. He's far from done. He's going to need Stalkers here back at home. Will PtitDrogo to defend against this double Liberator. You need at least 2 to 3 to snap down these guys. Target starts now. It's very, very late. uThermal wants to even the score here.
He's on that mineral line. There's actually not a great pylon in position, I don't think, to shut down the one in the main. And this one is trying to negate that pylon on the left-hand side and shut down some of this mineral production as well.
This is a bit of a disaster here now for Drogo, because he's going to be defended across the map, and uThermal is going to prevent so much mining time. Drogo is trying to scramble, squeeze out as many Stalkers as he can. Does uThermal move this one?
Gotta actually be able to kill this one eventually.
He's gonna kill 2?
Oh my god, he's not actually gonna even get it! He's not gonna get it!
This is so bad, he's not even mining! He's not mining anywhere! Look at the income, it's 100! uThermal with the double Liberator, even though he lost so many SCVs, right now he's shutting down the entire economy of Drogo. Drogo's not even long distance mining on the 3rd base that he's taking right now.
He needs to do that. He needs to have a little bit of income, at least another Liberator.
Whoa, wow, what?
Wow, wait, where did it move? That was the 3rd Liberator. It moved forwards there to try and siege up all of the angles, but that was not going to be the case.
How many of these guys are there?
Oh my god.
He's literally like spamming emotes in Nathaniel's chat with the Liberator right now, and the American flag. Like, this is... There's so many of these guys.
We're going to get the tasteless GG in a moment if we're not careful. Oh my god, PtitDrogo, he is being shut down. One Phoenix is now out to actually try and push this away at least.
So he's finally going to clear this up, but if you look at the supply, it tells the story. I know it's my favorite quote.
And he will actually manage to get away with that. In the end, another Liberator flies on him, but look how many Marines.
Yeah.
What is the army supply here? 10 army supply against 41? All right, well.
Take it away, Tasteless.
We'll get there in a minute. We'll get there in a minute. This is not looking good at all for PtitDrogo. This is the start of a potential comeback here for uThermal, who has done massive amounts with this double Liberation production.
I think Drogo probably re-warped more Stalkers after the original 6 that he had in his opponent's base. That's what put him in a lot of trouble. If after the 3 Adepts he warped in across the map, he had gone for 3 Stalkers back at home, dedicated that to defending one of his bases, and Pylons plus overcharge to another one, he would have been fine. But now uThermal wants to finish this game here. He wants to score the first point here against PtitDrogo.
There is nothing left. The mothership goes down. There you go. GG! As uThermal is able to mount the comeback, the start of what is to come potentially. Wow. Wowie, wow, 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 wow.
You know, the defense looked shaky at first, but these Liberators, they were just not expected to be there that early. And honestly, I can't fault Drogo either, because they come so fast. Who gets a starport and quick to Liberators like this? Nobody, almost.
No, that was really tough to deal with. And again, you know, we're seeing uThermal still mixing things up slightly, you know, just trying to tweak his normal build, but just in slightly different ways to catch the opponent off guard. Admittedly, I thought the Adepts were going to be the nail in the coffin actually for uThermal over on the other side, but that was not to be. The Liberator follow-up after that was just...
there was always going to be enough. It's usually a lot about how many SCVs you can kill and then defending back at home. But in this case, even though he got quite a good chunk of SCVs, he wasn't like 20 plus, I think it was like 15 maybe.
Yeah, 15, 16.
And then when at home, you don't mind for like 2 whole minutes. Usually you're not winning that game, especially against uThermal, who loves to mass on 2 bases to then go for a timing. So Drogo gonna have to do better than this. He's gonna have to ideally see better what he's up against, because I was praising his scouting, but last game, to be honest, he left way too early with the probe, didn't spot the 2 Reapers, and then behind this didn't realize there was gonna be Liberators going across the map. I'm not sure what he was thinking actually, because he saw only Marines back at home defending. He must have been able to see the starport during the first transfer of Adepts towards the second base. So I think he should have been able to realize what was happening, but maybe his macro slipped a little bit as well, because he started the Stargate as the Liberators were setting up to shoot down these units. So that's like, well, not anytime soon will you be able to clear these units.
It was difficult. I mean, even the 3 Stalkers that he sent to clean up the one at the natural almost got completely vaporized, with one having to dart on away from there. And that was the one poor Stalker that managed to get away.
He actually could have been mining in long distance here on the 3rd base much earlier. Took a long time to actually fix that. Overcharge helped a little bit here. If you had better placed pylons as well, like if you put 2 to 3 pylons in the back of your middle line instead of putting them elsewhere, but then it's very hard to build your buildings. That's the big dilemma of Protoss right now. If you put your pylons in the back of your middle line, then how do you make gateways there? There is not enough space. So you need to find a good balance. And sadly, it wasn't found here by Drogo on this map.
It's hard to get the pylons covering the dead space on maps as well during all of that. I mean, the one that was closest to the dead space was nowhere near where it was actually able to reach.
uThermal is sticking to his guns, man. It's finally paying off in this series here with the first map win.
And we are going to be on Ruins of Ceres for our next game here in game number 4, as he's trying to mount this comeback. Up to the top left, we have our Red Terran representing AT Gaming. It is uThermal.
Showing us how to beat Adepts with 2 Liberators sieging the middle line. That's what it takes, apparently.
How do you defeat Adepts? You ignore them. Just go to the other side of the map.
You barely defend them, and you have 2 Liberators wrecking the Protoss middle line.
Easy peasy. And then over the other side of the map, we do have our blue Protoss representing My Sanity. It is PtitDrogo.
Showing us how to play some good Protoss versus Terran himself, even though that last game definitely did not go his way. What is he going to do here? Do we see a Stargate or a similar build? On this map, it's, I mean, there is so much space to fly into your opponent's base with a War Prism that he won't be expecting it from, that going for a similar build would be really good. Even though last game didn't work out, it was more the defensive side that he messed up a little bit, as much as the aggression was doing a lot. It did its job, I think, the War Prism and Adepts. It's just that the defense behind this wasn't there.
Well, let's see how this is going to play on out here. PtitDrogo is just going to taking his Nexus pretty swiftly behind this. On the other side, no command center started just yet, but he has got the money for it. So let's see after this reactor if he's just going to go towards that. Looks like he will be doing so.
Drogo has been really fortunate actually with a lot of these scouts, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yes, getting a...
Yeah.
Both players actually going to get a first scout here where the opponent is, so they're going to know exactly what they're up against, which is actually this game for the first time, like basically the most standard opener that you could go for both players. Second pylon at the ramp here for Drogo, already starting to think about whether, you know, if he got attacked later on by maybe the Marines and Cyclone trying to move into the main, he'd have a photon overcharge there available to help him defense.
Definitely a good choice. Just up the ramp. I mean, if you don't have the high ground vision with Marines and Cyclone, then it's a bit more difficult for them to actually get something done there, for sure.
Especially, I mean, uThermal, he's very much so himself, and he says that about himself too, a YOLO Terran. Like if sometimes there is a pylon just a little bit out of position in natural, he's going to run past that and go straight into the main with the rush that he loves to do usually with Marines and the Cyclones. So we'll see though what PtitDrogo chooses to do behind this. He's going to be the Robo first over the Twilight Council that we've seen previously prior to the Robo.
And an Adept start will be sent out with that psionic transfer to go forward. The shade continues.
One thing about uThermal is that he always leaves his Marines at the ramp, which I guess on this map almost anybody would do anyway, towards the natural. But no matter what the map, he's always a little bit out to try and intercept that Adept, to try and snipe it, or even do a lot of damage to it. So we'll see if Drogo's ready for this. Yeah, he's ready. He's just going to send the shade and then pull back. Actually takes a bit of damage here, loses the shield, but no more.
Sends it for the scout, has a little look forwards.
What did he see past the barracks?
I don't think he saw anything, actually. Oh,
yeah, he did. That's always the big question. That's always the big question. Are you able to spot? Because like now, if he doesn't see the factory, there is a chance he's double barracks behind this. Like but now knowing there is the factory, he knows he's most likely going to be a Cyclone almost every single time, which changes everything. You know that there can be a stop wall behind this. You can start preparing better. And last game, this is what cost him the game, not really knowing when the Liberators were going to come and that they were going to come. So in this time around, Drogo got the better end of things for sure.
Looks like he might be inviting of this Warp Prism play. He dropped the scan, saw the Robo facility was on the way. The Warp Prism is being built, and the Marines were pulling back, actually, to a more defensive position. Is he going to go out with it? He should do, I think. But at the same time, you've always got to have this threat. There's always going to be that threat at the back.
If you go on the offense here as Protoss, you're going to take a lot of damage back at home, because that single pylon, even though you overcharge it, he's going to get sniped pretty much instantly. So this could mean trouble here for Drogo.
It's a lot of Marines.
Oh, he misses.
Uh-oh.
And he's on his side of the map as this is about to hit him here. So he might have to actually pull back with the Warp Prism and the Adepts.
Yeah.
Overcharge.
But then a Warp Prism could easily be taken down by these units if he's not careful.
Oh, he actually pulls back.
Where is the Cyclone? Is it? It's up to the top. All right, okay, chilling.
What is there going to be back at home to defend?
Observer.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm surprised that uThermal is playing it this slow, because usually it's the one always attacking here. Adepts are going to be dropped. There is a tank and some Marines. He might have to repair.
Whoa, all the SCVs coming off the line as well.
They're going to die.
Yeah, I mean, if he moves further back here and actually finds himself a good position, there's going to be a lot of SCVs actually lost. Only one Adept or two have gone down so far.
Oh, he's not going to cancel, I think. He's going to let the tank do some damage to SCVs, maybe, if he were to shoot. Going to pick up and evacuate. So uThermal actually played it slow here. He pulled back home instead of countering across the map. Hasn't killed a single probe. It's now 44 probes to 31 SCVs.
And they shoot from there. I don't think they can. It's all up to the Liberator at the moment. But he would have gone past that. Yeah, it looks like it is going to end up falling.
The Marines need to get in position, though,
if
anything's dropped here.
Wow. Good cleanup overall.
Shut down.
The crowd loves it.
And Stargate behind this. So Drogo is still expecting Liberators. Guess what? uThermal is mixing it up. He's not making Liberators this time.
Oh, wow.
He made a single one, which he's kept with his army. That's so smart. Knowing that his opponent might have at the counter this time around, he's just going to do a big push on two bases.
And Stargate about to finish up.
Oh, man. I'm starting to feel like this might be 2-2 in a second here.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, what does he really have?
And it's always going around where the Watchtower is not going to see.
It's 38 army supply to 19. There really isn't a whole lot to hold this off at all. With a Liberator and a Cyclone there, that's some good firepower if they don't die.
These pylons to defend the initial rush are not going to play against Drogo as well. Because they're going to get sniped from afar by the siege tank.
Oh, and he got himself the Observer as well.
This is an absolute disaster here for Drogo. These pylons are going to get sniped.
Slightly
Did he not bring the tanks, actually? I thought the tanks were on the way.
Has the vision of those pylons as
kept
well
them
as
at
working
home.
at them.
Why, oh why, uThermal?
Yeah, he could have done so much extra damage with those. But no, Phoenix is out, but I don't think it's going to be surviving for much longer.
It's hot and dead.
That was a little bit difficult to actually keep hold of. With that many Marines at the bottom of this, Active Gateway is going to throw down.
He's in panic mode, man. He's slowing down gateways. He's getting an immortal.
Yeah.
As his Robo Bay is about to finish. uThermal, I think he might have to pull back here because he's missing a lot of reinforcements. So he's just going to get out of there. But Blink just finished.
Can he do something with that?
He's going to... Oh, I think he knows that
It's going around.
there might not be anything in the main to help with this. Oh, I love that Marine blocking the base, by the way. That's going to buy even more time. Drogo going on the chase. That's going to be the cue for that Liberator to fly into his main to try and take out some probes.
He's actually going to lose a lot of Marines on the retreat on out here, but he has so many siege tanks back at home, right, to hold on, so he should
got
be
so
okay.
many. And the Liberator, he's not going to be countered, I think, back at home.
No,
What is there? Nothing.
Nothing. There isn't even a pylon in a good position against that position.
Here we go
Oh my
again.
God. He's going to lose so much.
Hello.
He's going to lose so much. No pylon at all.
He has to walk all the way back. Drogo.
Oh my. This
Starts
is just
the third
worked out
base.
so well for him.
But you know, like, in this position, you always know that uThermal's going to be so happy because he's planning a 2-base attack. By delaying the mining time so much, he transformed that into a huge supply lead. And sure, Drogo is going to try to go for the Colossus again, but this time around, the army of uThermal is going to be so massive, and it's going to be double siege. Siege tanks plus potentially the Liberator if he were to make any more. He's got the one which I'm guessing is going to die eventually to the Phoenix, but with the amount, how many tanks is there? 5, right?
Yeah, 5 at the moment.
Against the first Colossus about to come out. This is like the saddest Colossus of all time.
And as long as he's got some, good number of medevacs as well, he can start adding on the Liberators if he really wants to, and then his Bioforce will still be quite healthy in these engagements.
PtitDrogo is not sure what he's facing as well. He's mixing in a little bit of everything. He's getting resonating glaives, so he's gonna have, I guess, Stalkers with Blink, Adept with some attack speed, and some Colossus. In this case, just the one. He's going for the single Forge. I think that's at least one of the good things that he has going for him instead of going for 2. Because these upgrades might not even finish before this hit. Now Drogo sees that there is no third. I think he might be starting to realize that he's gonna get hit by a hurricane called uThermal here in a second.
This is going to be very, very deadly. He needs that third base to pay off so quickly, but I don't think it is even gonna here before this attack actually comes.
It's only 6 gateways, Funkai is pointing out very nicely, which is not that big production, to be honest.
No, no.
Colossus out of 1 Robo plus 6 gates, but the Templar Archive starts, but I don't think it will finish on time for him to be able to get a couple of Archons here.
Stalkers are trying to buy time, but the problem is that with a Cyclone there, it becomes a bit more of a problem. We have to have an extra micro to actually deal with that and buy more time in the middle of the map.
This army is insane. Like, there is just so much for uThermal, so much firepower. It's 19.5 army supply to 78. uThermal looking to try and equalize the score here. Can Drogo defend?
He's got a lot of Zealots in there that don't have charge, right? They don't have charge. So, oh, actually, it's only Adepts. What am I saying? So, couldn't see
this
it this
could be
distance.
good if he comes in from behind. Let's see if the Adept can do enough tanking here.
Catches himself one tank, gonna blink forwards onto the others, gets those as well. Very, very quickly killing some of them off, but I don't think it is going to be enough here. There's still a huge army supply advantage in favor of uThermal. There is no splash damage there at the front, but he came in from the other side here with the Colossus and some Stalkers.
Yeah, there's a Colossus and all these pylons are alive. The mothership core died, right?
I think so, yeah.
Died. If there had been a couple photon overcharges, I think Drogo might have won.
The reinforcements, it's going to be too much. 81 army supply against 18. He's killing off the pylons, underpowering the gateways as well. Oh, this is going to go all the way here of uThermal, as that one Colossus has way too much to do here against this. He snipes it out. GG, uThermal will tie up the series, and he keeps his hopes alive, and all Terran's hopes alive, to try and move on to the grand final.
PtitDrogo took the absolutely best engagement here that any Protoss could have taken, but not quite enough against the Terran, who just had so much. uThermal played this beautifully.
What a game. What a game. What a series.
You know, like, I didn't think it was right back then to pull back with the Marines and Cyclone, but in the end it was so right. Keeping that alive is what allowed him to shut down the War Prism so convincingly. And then from there, he applied some pressure with the Liberator, prevented his opponents to mine, and he was just able to get way more army because of that. Because when you go for a third base as Protoss and then you're not allowed to mine from your main, you're not going to be able to squeeze out as many units as your opponent's going to be able to get. And like I said, like, Drogo, his engagement was so sick. I really thought for a second he might be able to do it just because of that, but uThermal just had too much regardless, so wow. What a series, man, and what a play from both players here, especially uThermal in this one.
Yeah, those kind of fights later on, when they actually do go down and everything blinks on towards the siege tanks, and he actually got a really good flank on them, admittedly. Yeah. If he had a little bit more army supply, maybe he could have won out that fight, and it all didn't spiral out of control. But it is difficult to tell from the observational point of view just how much is dying in all that chaos in the middle of it.
And by the way, that hit just before there was going to be maybe a critical mass of Colossus. I think it was maybe like 2 that there was in this fight. There was 2 Immortals that were nice, but it's really from that moment where you get 3 to 4 Colossus that even if though the Tian could have a lot more supply than you, like you're just gonna roast these Marines completely. Yeah. So the splits definitely were a little bit there for uThermal at the same time, but like he attacked just right on time. A minute later and he would have maybe been held and been in trouble.
Well, now we are all tied up 2-2 here, and just take a few more looks at this game. This was really impactful.
That guy's the hero of the game.
Had to throw down another pylon to try and deal with that. Admittedly, once again, this flank is actually really
100
nice.
army supply for uThermal, 80 for PtitDrogo. And it almost looked for a second like he was going to be able to pull it off. Losing the Mothership Core, though, was massive, because then behind this, he didn't have any photon overcharge. Look, you see the Mothership Core coming from the right. The Marines are going to take it out immediately.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, if he'd have kept that alive, it could have been a different story. You're totally right.
Because then now it looked like uThermal had done a lot of damage, but he's only left with Marines that are already injured. He's going to have to steam again if he fights. So, but very convincing game here for sure. Big push, and he's really showing a different way to play PvT than what we see sometimes usually with some Terrans being purists of just bio and playing it standard. No, tanks are in there. Tanks can be a very good pushing unit here if you play similarly to uThermal.
And we are loading up onto the final game here as we get onto Prime Terraces to figure out who is moving on to the grand final. I wouldn't have it any other way, going to the full 5 games. To the bottom position, we have our red Terran bringing it back. The recovery is on the way here for AT Gaming's uThermal, who is showing us quite the series so far.
Very respected player in the European scene, but making an even bigger name of himself here.
No surprises. Look at how he's been playing. But then, so is this guy. Up to the top left-hand corner, it's our blue Protoss representing My Insanity. It is PtitDrogo,
who, after leading 2-0 here, allowed the 2-2 to happen. Definitely needs to keep his head in the game. Make sure he keeps on doing what he was doing right from the start. Scouting. What he's been doing wrong, though, is, I think, for the most part, misreading the aggression of uThermal. If you think about map 3 and 4, he just wasn't ready for the Liberator. You always need to be ready for the Liberator, which, I mean, sounding like this sounds kind of hard, but what sacrifice is it against a Terran that you know is going to go for Liberators almost every single game to leave 3 Stalkers per minute line and wait for these guys to come and snipe them?
The thing
it's not like you need to do Stalkers at the front. He wasn't in any threat at the front from being attacked. So
I think the thing is for PtitDrogo, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like, there are knock-on effects that keep going on. He knows that the Liberators are going to come, but every single opener is just a little bit different. Like Hellions in one of the games, I think Reapers in one of the games to kind of cause some annoyance and
his
like
timing
throw off.
Has been a little bit off. He seems like he really wants to rely on the Phoenix to defend against the Liberators. And in map number 1, he got it on time. He set up the Phoenixes on time to defend against that. But in the last 2 maps, they weren't early enough. That target wasn't nearly early enough because he opened with Adepts and with a War Prism. And the Liberators of uThermal, they come so fast, he rushes for them a lot of the time. So now, both players in this game did their bit of scouting. Is it the time we see a little bit more of a standard game from both? Probably not. Especially not uThermal.
Well, you never know at the moment, because right now we've just got the double Marine production over on the other side. Factory's going to go down, which technically could be spotted by a shade, I believe, if it goes up there. Once
as I say that, actually, uThermal goes for the 3rd CC. I guess on this map, you know, you've got the gold base playing for you. The thing is, though, uThermal is just so good at staying on 2 base and then doing those massive pushes where he's able to slow down Protoss before that. It almost feels as if he should just do it almost every single game, unless he's throwing in like a 1 base all-in. But in this case, I can't fault him here on this map for trying to go for the gold base and as a 3rd base. And Stargates is going to be the choice for PtitDrogo. So trying to change things up here from the Robo and Adepts that we've seen a lot of him so far in the series.
I think he's actually only just got the 1 command center at the moment on the natural. So, but I mean, I know I've had that happen to me before as well. No, I've done it before. Like, I always like, oh wow, the command center's not finished yet. I'm like, is it the 3rd one? Whatever.
I thought he had already started. Okay.
So
that was my Showtime moment.
That was, it was nowhere near as bad as mine, where I'm doing the whole analysis and I'm like, Yeah, it's this guy. Oh, wait, no, never mind. So bad. But anyway.
I'm always surprised when people get Oracle actually against uThermal because it feels like it's the one unit that doesn't really do much against him. Like there was this one game where Showtime somehow managed to make it work a little bit, but even lost the game in the end anyway.
Oh.
So right now getting an Oracle.
Wait a minute.
This is so sick. Like,
this was ambitious.
Only one guy would be out on the map with these few Marines to try and get a cancel on the third base, and that's him. That's uThermal right there for you.
Yeah.
And okay, I was saying the Oracle doesn't work against uThermal because he gets Marines, he gets a Cyclone, he moves across the map. You can't really fight against that with an Oracle. And behind this, he gets turrets back at home a lot of the time. And by that, I mean almost every single time. So an Oracle is very hard for it to fly into the middle line and do some damage. But in this case, it feels like PtitDrogo made that for the defense, and he's going to be able to catch the Marines before the Cyclone is here.
There's so many Marines going down already. I mean, the Cyclone's here, now it can start tracking the Oracle, but it will retreat up to the high ground and should be able to see it. He dropped the scan in anticipation to keep the vision on towards the high ground,
and doesn't get the kill.
No.
Is it time for Phoenixes now that he's got double Oracle, because we know that those Liberators are most likely going to be on the way.
That was so
and there is that third CC I was talking about. You know, I knew he was going to come.
Well, I mean, seeing that gold base, you know, as quickly as he did, it makes a lot of sense.
You have two choices. You stay on do base and you push, or you get your own third base.
And the earlier the better, really, if you are going to go for that, for sure. These two Oracles, though, they did quite a lot of work for themselves. And not getting the Oracle, even with a scan committed to it, is actually a big deal. That's a lot of
really bad.
Opportunity lost cost.
45 probes to 33 SCVs now. uThermal. Actually, what worries me here about uThermal is that I feel like sometimes, in terms of aggression, he doesn't know how to hit the back pedal, and he goes on the aggression anyway. So I'm really worried that he actually gets that third CC, moves out and attacks with less units than usually because he's not at production facilities instead, and gets his attack crushed and then finds himself in trouble. I feel like if you go for that third CC, you definitely have to play more defensive. And now third Oracle is going to be out. Is it that time again where Santa actually takes the gift this year instead of giving them away?
Well,
okay, the Liberator.
We shall find out in a moment. These two adepts are getting wrecked.
He blocked him.
You what, mate? Meanwhile, 3 Oracles fly in and get a siege tank. They're actually still going on the offensive here against all the Marines and actually shred up a ton of them. And he got so much.
Wow. He got a lot, but he lost 3 Oracles.
Yeah.
Was that worth it now?
It was. I guess it was by definition balanced.
I think later in the game these Oracles were going to be useless, so I think it's actually good to get the trade here because now he's reset the Marine count. He's got a tank and the Cyclone, which is supposed to shut down the War Prism down the line. So even though there's still 1 Cyclone alive, this could be good
this
later.
Just waltzed into position, and well, as quickly as it waltzed in, it's going to get taken away.
Very good reaction time here on Drogo's spot. He moved out of the way very quickly. He's getting the Robo Bay.
It's 61 workers to 39 at the moment. And of course, Protoss is going to be ahead, but that's quite a lot. The third command center right now is only just flying over to the gold base, whereas that gold base for PtitDrogo has been up for a long time. It's been a significant advantage.
Usually when you're this much ahead in walkers, you're going to be behind in army supply, but because he traded the 3 Oracles for a lot of units, PtitDrogo is ahead in everything here in this game. He's got more army supply as well. He's going to be able to catch a few Phoenixes here and there. A few SCVs with the Phoenixes and kill them. You could actually pick up that Cyclone as well, maybe, and kill it. Not gonna risk it for now. And now, Resonating Glaives on the way. War Prism as well. He's got a lot of gateways. Skipping entirely on those forges, knowing he might be attacked soon.
Surely if PtitDrogo could make a fantastic army here and just crush.
He's in a great position for sure, right now on this map.
He's so far ahead, 40 supply ahead at the moment. Of course, the production is only just about to kick in because those add-ons are about to finish on these barracks. So it will scale up a little bit quicker here for Terran. But right now, the lead is pretty huge.
If he skips entirely on the upgrades, though.
Get on the siege tank, man. There's not much there.
I thought for a second he might go for it.
Yeah.
Especially since that bunker wasn't finished yet.
He can't go in. I couldn't even get it. It's a full wall off with the buildings. I like it.
uThermal really smart to think of this.
Super smart. I mean, it's kind of what we saw with the base and the naturals being walled off from one another to make sure they don't dart around the base.
Second Robo on the way now for Drogo. And double Colossus production is going to begin. Double gold, I mean, why not here?
Why not?
Because he can.
Because it's Prime Terraces. Screw it, middle gold, whatever.
Middle gold, Mass Cannon Tempest.
Have you ever seen this been taken in one of your games, by the way?
The middle gold?
Yeah.
No.
Nope. May as well not exist. So we do have...
One day, man.
Yeah.
One
Zergs
day
might
two
take
players
it.
are going to fight for it, and he's going to decide the game.
Wow. That'll be a long
I
legacy
really
game.
like the choice of going for a single forge here. I really feel like you don't have to commit that much to double forge.
Right.
Personally, focusing on the production is better at this point in the game for Drogo. He's actually going to fly War Prism in there with triple Adept.
Yeah. Finds his way on in, gets himself a few workers already. It's still 62 to 49 here. The Mule's trying to make up the cost extra of that, which picks up and gets on away with just a few kills. 5 kills in that. Quid's in. And double Colossus production on the way.
This is so sick.
Oh, wow. He's making such a rounded army. This is brutal.
62 probes. He doesn't even need to make more because he's going to have double gold. Like, the income of Drogo is probably already so massive that he must be barely, like, having enough production facilities to keep up with that.
Surely, Todd, Colossus is such a good choice here, because even if he were to anticipate Colossi, even if he were to try and get Vikings to deal with it, there's still Phoenix in the air, which are going to deter.
Phoenixes are going to be good. There's going to be a lot of Blink Stalkers as well with this. And uThermal, I think his best chance might just be turtling, getting a lot of units out, and trying to fight maxed out against maxed out with enough Vikings to deal with this Colossi. And the tanks as well. And to be honest, a big difference between this game and the first game that we saw is that Drogo somehow got 3-3 against 1-1. In this game, it's going to be no upgrades for both players, so that's definitely something that uThermal has going for him.
That's so scary when you drop the scan on that position, see that gold base has been mining for a little while, and now PtitDrogo is about to max out against what we're seeing here from uThermal.
uThermal needs to turtle, I think, for sure here. Get some more turrets, maybe against these Phoenixes that have been oh so annoying.
Has he even seen the unit composition of PtitDrogo on the other side? Does he even know it's double Colossus just yet?
Usually you'd send one Marine to try and see what you're up against. Yeah, he must have seen the Blink Stalkers, not necessarily the Colossus, but he must know.
God, that's so much firepower.
Oh no, I don't think he should move out now. He's not near maxed.
This is going to get sticky. Very
the army supply actually are very close together.
Yeah, they
Dark
are.
Shrine going down.
It's all in the workers, really.
Templar Archives going down as well.
But look at the quality of this army. It's so many Colossi. And what answer does he have? Might try and find himself a...
How many tanks are there?
7.
7 against...
So many Marines, but they're going to melt away.
Against 8 Colossi. Good luck, have fun with these many Marines.
This could be really bad here for uThermal. He may be walking into an Iron Maiden. He may just get clamped completely here and shut down. This is going to be...
He's got way more army supply, but it's mostly Marines because of the Marines pickup.
He's going to take this fight already here. That's a lot of Colossi. Those Marines are going to get melted away. He has to retreat on out of here. The siege tanks are going to get pushed back as well. That's GG. PtitDrogo makes it on to the finals after a tense game all the way through that best of 5. What a series, and PtitDrogo is going to be our first grand finalist.
Colossus for the win, man. I'm not sure what uThermal did here in that last fight. He boosted his medivacs away from his army. I think he must have panicked a little bit. Maybe he didn't know about the Colossus and got a heart attack and was like,
that was...
No!
Yeah,
and
that
then
was...
boosted his medivacs away as a blunder, but man, this has to be a sad series here for him because he almost came back and he brought it down to the last map, but in the end, it's PtitDrogo that plays just a little bit too good here on this map.
And, you know, as much as uThermal said it could have been a 3-0 in favor of PtitDrogo, he still tried to bring it back. So commiserations to uThermal, who showed us a fantastic little run here through this tournament. In
a very tough matchup with a very tough unit to face in the Adepts.
Yeah.
He was able to make it very far in the tournament, but I guess it's Drogo's time now.
It is Drogo's time. Look at how he was able to be victorious there, even making the Colossus work of all things, but in a brilliant fashion. That last game, those Colossi had nothing in terms of counter.
The Liberators weren't given any room here, finally.
Yeah.
It can be very hard to counter them. The thing is, you don't really, if you don't see the Liberators coming out on the map, and it's almost impossible to, and then they set up in your middle line, you're already in so much trouble. So you have to kind of anticipate where they're going to be and be ready at all times. And now, the Phoenixes alone here were given too much room to do damage. A couple turrets would have gone a long way to help against this. And now, look at the medivacs, they just boosted away. They were like, good luck, guys. And then they came back, they're like, no, actually, we kind of need to heal. The concave setup before the fight was just too good for Drogo. And when you have 8 Colossi against a Terran who's relying on 8 tanks plus only Marines, usually you're doing something right. And you're in a good position. And it was the case here for sure.
What a showing there. Now we can go to our first grand finalist. It's PtitDrogo over in Smic City.
Thank you very much, Colaris. I'm joined here with Drogo. Absolute huge congratulations on making it to the grand finals. Just heard Apollo joking around saying you were the Zerg versus Zerg expert in the Nation Wars, and now you're in the grand finals of the first event of the year, so that's pretty damn sick.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. I agree with the statement.
Hey, so you can just brush your shoulder off a little bit
Thank you, by the way. your tweet before the match was like, all right, good. No people talking about Terran anymore.
It was almost a 3-0, almost.
Almost.
Yeah, almost. But before we get into the games themselves, let's talk about right before the series. Obviously, uThermal played 2 Protoss right before getting up to meeting you. He 3-0'd Harstem, and then he 3-1'd Showtime. Obviously, Showtime, a really good player, Harstem as well. And then he went on to face you, and I'm sure that you studied his style. I'm sure you're very familiar with it. So in terms of preparing for the series, what were you really focusing on?
Well, that's the thing. Like uThermal, I got really lucky to play him late. I think if I wasn't prepared at all and just like playing my own style, I would have got destroyed like Harstem did in the like first. When this thing catches you by surprise, you have a tendency to instantly lose to it. And the same for Showtime too. Like the game in Lost versus Proxy Ghost, I think I would have lost to Proxy Ghost myself. So it was really good for me.
You just don't expect it.
Yeah, it was really good for me to be able to prepare for that because like he has some tricky stuff and you need to know that it's coming.
Well, aside from the Proxy Ghost that he used, obviously he's really known for this Marine Cyclone Liberator style. So in terms of knowing that about him, what did you think about in terms of focusing and preparing against that?
There was a lot of stuff that I could do to counter him. And in the game that I lose, I've tried to do that, but I kind of fail. I mean, like for example, like the last game, making 3 Oracle, like it's assumed the guy moves out with 1 Cyclone and 10 Marines. If you have some Adepts on an Oracle, you need to micro-well. If you have 2 Oracle and some Adepts, you move the guy. If you have 3 Oracle, you just kill him. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do with like you have a Pylon, you have a War Prism, like a lot of stuff that counter this very well. You just have to execute it properly. And I wasn't able to do it for 2 games, but for 3 games I did it, so it was enough.
Well, let's talk about those 2 games where it didn't work out so well for you, because I always think that those are the most interesting to talk about in terms of what went wrong. So let's talk about that game 3, because it started out okay. You killed a lot of SCVs with your Adepts, and then he came with these double Liberators, and then you just could not mind.
So here's the thing. When you go Reactor, sometimes it's double Reaper. And I know that he likes double Reaper, but he kind of stopped after a while. So my probe was like patrolling in front of the racks, because in my head, I was like, okay, maybe if it's Reaper, my probe is gonna see them. After a while, I was like, okay, it can't be Reaper now. Like my probe is here too long. But apparently, I completely missed the timing of the Reapers. So the fact that my probe didn't see it, then I had to make like a Mothership Core. Then he killed some probes. So I was really mineral starved. So the resources that I usually have to build my pylon wasn't here at this time. So I didn't feel the need to build the pylon. So then he went with 2 Liberators, and I just straight up lost the game, which is, yeah, it was very well played by him to go for double Reaper in that situation.
And then going into that game 4, you know, obviously losing that War Prism was not good, to put it in the least. And then after that, it just seemed like he had the Liberator in the main, and that did a lot of damage, and then it just spiraled downward from there.
Yeah, like you need a good setup. I actually have screenshots of like the perfect pylon placement, but is it? Are you allowed, like in the USS rulebook, to like? Can I pause the game, check my screenshot, and go back into the game? Because I actually failed. Like it's hard to remember what to put the pylon
off,
exactly.
like by a little bit?
Yeah, really often I was off by a little bit, or just straight up forgot to build the pylon. So it was really badly played by me.
Well, regardless, even though you didn't like those 2 games, you still won 3 maps, which put you over him to put you in the grand finals. And what's most impressive when looking at your path to the grand finals is that you 3-2'd Neeb, very, very strong Protoss player. Then you 3-2 TLO, again, a very strong Zerg player. And then you just played a Terran player, so no one can say you're a one-trick pony, that you only had to play 1 race. You played all 3 races and you showed really solid play. So it just seems like this is your tournament.
And personally, something that I like, I have a tendency to go up to 0, then lose 3-2. At Home Strike Up, I choked versus the laser like this. And I was really upset. And in this tournament, like many times it happened. I was 2 versus Neeb. Then I almost lost 2-3, but I was able to pull it back. Same here with like uThermal. When I was up 2-0, I was like, this is easy. This is so easy. And then it went wrong.
Yeah, I really liked seeing the more confident sort of play, because it seemed like Showtime and Harstem had a really hard time adjusting. Are you worried about playing more so against the Korean player or Bly, just because he also does the crazy stuff?
I think Violet is very strong right now. And right now, PvZ, PvZ I think is my best matchup. I think is the one I...
Really?
Yeah, like maybe my PvT looked impressive, but I barely got any practice in PvT because there's no terror on the ladder. So I'm kind of freestyling a lot of the time, actually. I have openings, then it's whatever. So, but versus Dog, I actually have, you know, a lot of stuff going on. But Violet is strong, but Bly will be a problem too. Like I have a good water call versus Bly on ladder, but Bly in tournament is a way different beast. He's gonna get into my head, and I might lose because of that. So both players are really scary for me.
So who do you predict is going to be the one to actually move on to face you? I know it's kind of hard because it is Zerg versus Zerg.
I'm gonna go by the number on. I guess I'm going to say it will be like head says Violet, heart say Bly, something like that.
Okay, I think that makes sense actually.
That's pretty reasonable.
Statistically speaking, if you go by just head on paper, Violet's undefeated at this tournament. Obviously, he's a Korean player, says a lot, and he's been practicing really hard. But then again, Bly, I mean, Bly on fire, right?
He did just beat Hydra, so.
Yeah. And that was a pretty intense series, so I guess we'll find out who you face. But last but not least, I was looking at your all-time earnings, and you've earned somewhere around $10,000.
Yeah.
But if you were to win here, you're literally not only doubling that, but you're doubling and more. So, I mean, this is obviously such a great step in your career. I mean, how does it feel to be doing so well to make it to the grand final?
I actually can't believe I'm at the final of the DreamHack.
Is it hitting you at all yet?
Well, no, I'm just playing games right now, but...
Yeah, I think that's actually the best mindset to have.
It's really great, but I know because, you know, like, I was in the final, like at PtitDrogo. I was, after winning a bunch of Koreans without losing any game, I was in the final versus Lucira. And losing to Lucira 4-2 at the tournament was one of the hardest losses in my life of StarCraft 2. I felt like shit. So this time I want to go to the final and I want to win the tournament because I know it feels fucking like shit to lose at the final. It's the worst.
I believe you. I believe you. I can feel how horrible you felt. And well, I just wish you the best. I'm looking forward to a really good series, whether it is Violet or Bly that you will face. That, of course, that will be the second match that is coming up, the second semifinal, to see who will face PtitDrogo. Will it be Bly on fire? It looks like he has some fans here. Will it be Bly on fire? Will it Violet extinguish the flame? Let's find out after the break.